Hey guys, what's up? Ready for some drama? Man, things just got crazy in a way nobody saw coming. What was supposed to be a normal day in court for Diddy turned into total chaos when people started saying his lawyer let slip something shocking. They're claiming there's an HIV test report with Diddy's name on it. I mean, he actually caught HIV like having relationships with lots of women. Oh yeah, let's just talk about all of his bad behavior. And when those claims came out, Diddy wasn't acting like the confident big shot we've always seen before. People say he was falling apart, saying, "They destroyed me. They trapped me." People close to the case even said he looked like he was about to cry. Jaguar. Right thinks this is just because he knows the truth is finally coming out about him. He doesn't, you know. Everything he does with everyone else is for money, but he's just with you. He's with you, right? And there's no money being exchanged. So that makes us special. Not at all. Not at all. Hold on. Doesn't it make sense though? No, it really doesn't make sense. Especially when you see your so-called straight boyfriend now doing gay parties and saying that's only for money. Wow. And letting men perform oral sex on him for extra money. But it's only for money. Supposedly, okay. His attorney told the world basically like, yes, Diddy is a swinger. He can't just go out to a swinging party. He may have to pay people to come to his place to do those swinger things. A swinger party with as many different people as he had at those parties. And understand this, these sessions that he's talking about swinging, there were multiple men. It wasn't just one-on-one action. And I don't know why they're all lying about it, like they're all totally lying. And anybody who doesn't want to see that woman, that's just on them. Now, let's start from the beginning. Diddy's been fighting off accusations for months. Lawsuits, rumors, wild party stories. Every time he just brushed it off. But this, if it's true, is different because when health reports get leaked, especially something as serious as HIV, it's not just gossip anymore. That's real life. The streets started talking immediately. But then things got even messier. Right as this court drama was happening, an old birthday party video with Meek Mill supposedly leaked, and it wasn't the celebration people thought it was. Some say it looked more like Meek getting initiated into Diddy's twisted world. What's up, King Son? Man, you're doing it, man. You deserve it. Daddy, you're putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you. Now, the backstory to this is that Diddy threw Meek a so-called birthday party in Las Vegas at the Parisian Palace. $25,000 a night. Same weekend as Mayweather's big fight. The guest list was pure A-list celebrities. But the leaked details from that night are crazy. Matching outfits, lingerie dancers walking around like chess pieces, even a naked woman laid out as a sushi platter. And when it was over, people inside say the mansion was completely trashed. Broken bottles, used condoms, blood-stained bed sheets, and drugs scattered around. And then came viral audio supposedly recorded that night. Disclaimer, we can't play that audio because it's against YouTube rules. But don't worry, you can find it online in seconds. So anyway, some say it caught Diddy and Meek in a sexual situation. The internet went crazy. Meek immediately said the audio was fake, said it was AI created to destroy him. He even posted, "My voice is so powerful as a black man from the ghetto. They want it gone. I'm under control of no human." Strong words, but people weren't convinced. People started guessing. Some claimed one of Diddy's own bodyguards secretly recorded the audio. Others pointed the finger at Meek's ex. Nicki Minaj, Jaguar Wright, even said Nicki paid someone to leak the tape. And later, Nicki herself joked on a podcast that Meek loves drama and doesn't mind being dragged into controversy. Coincidence? Maybe. But folks weren't buying it. Gene Deal even claimed that there were blood-stained sheets on the beds at the party. No, what happened was Diddy had rented a mansion out for Meek Mill's birthday party and he had rented it for like $25,000. I remember we rented one of the mansion out. You know what I'm saying? And that's the day he had fired his cook. But that's a whole other story. You know what I'm saying? It was me, Wolf, Mace. Oh, was Ox staying there? No, just me, Wolf, Mace, Puff, and it was one other person staying in the mansion. But anyway, long story short is that they came recently. This happened a long time ago, but they recently just made a statement that they found loads of cocaine. I wonder what they did with the cocaine because they didn't turn it over to the police. They said they found loads of cocaine, razor blades. They said that the sheets were bloody, nasty. They found a whole lot of used condoms, and it was a Diddy party given in Meek Mill's honor for his birthday. I was like, yo, wow. They said it was disgusting the way that they left the place. So, I know they got hit with another bill on top of that $25,000 and the different deposits they had to put down for cleanup and all this other stuff. It was crazy. It was one of the property managers. They had rented out a mansion. I heard about that whole story. And here's where it connects back, because industry insiders like Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal have been saying for years that Diddy recorded these wild parties himself. Supposedly, he kept cameras rolling and used the footage as blackmail against anyone who stepped out of line. One claim even says there were over 250 hidden recording devices inside his mansion. But a lot of people probably believe that. They just want to know, and the government wants to know what things those people were doing on those tapes and who was doing stuff on those tapes, because I heard they found like 250 cameras or something like that. That's what they say. They said they found a lot of cameras, right? There's a lot of rumors about him recording some of these parties, and he's using a lot of this stuff for blackmail, like a lot of celebrities, even as far as politicians. I think even Little Rod said that Diddy had every room taped and bugged, right? Well, in his statement or his testimony that he gave to the courts, he said every room was bugged out and that he did have tapes and information on a lot of different celebrities and people in the music business. People that were politicians, and like I said, on other platforms, people that were in the ministry supposedly. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, now, if the feds got their hands on these tapes, you could very well see like a domino effect of stuff coming down on everybody. It depends on what's on the tapes. You know what I'm saying? Now, after the trial verdict, Gene claims the feds have had to cover everything up. So, I want to go back to the comments you made earlier about these tapes, and I want you to give more clarity. So, you believe they only got puffy because they want these tapes. What do you think is on these tapes? Bro, there's got to realize you got people like Prince Harry. Prince Harry was at a Diddy party. You got some of the same Universal executives. Diddy made it cool, for I'm just going to say it like this, man. White people to hang out with the hood dudes. Dude, from the hood, he made it cool and safe for them to hang out with the white executives. They used him for that. They used him enough, whereas now you got white executives doing Diddy-like parties. Remember the dude from What That Company, the clothing line, the sports line? They were mad because they didn't get invites to his party because he was doing white parties, doing parties like Diddy. Now, I'm not talking about the inappropriate party part of it, but I'm just saying he was doing those parties and everybody there was rappers, or I think Stephen A. Smith said something about he was upset that he didn't get no invite. So, it was those parties that everybody wanted to be at. Y'all heard the same thing that I heard when they raided his house. Y'all saw the same thing I saw. They took computers, tapes. You think there wasn't nothing on those tapes, y'all? You think they didn't record those tapes? Why did they hold up, yo, I just caught something important. They used the tape that Cassie sent them They used the tape that Cassie had that they showed to the jury members. Why do you think they didn't use the tape that they got from Diddy's house? Because that would have meant they had to officially record that. It would have been public record. And at one given time, when it's a public record out of this trial, you could go see it. You could go get those tapes, copies of those tapes, because it's public record. It would have been public record. Bro, it's a dirty game out here, man. It's a really dirty game. They are protecting somebody. Why did Damian Williams, the first prosecutor, he's trying to blame it on Trump. Oh, Mr. Trump is coming in office, so I'm going to leave before he gets here. Right after he did the Diddy thing. What? Right after he did the Diddy raid. Right after they got the tapes and everything. He retired. Great job. Probably got $1 million house and all that stuff somewhere because he definitely quit and tried to blame that on Trump. Y'all saw what I saw. Y'all saw what we saw, the same stuff. Y'all heard the same thing that I heard. They took over 250 cameras, and who had that many cameras in their house? I don't care how big the mansion is. So now we've got two major storms colliding. On one hand, the supposed HIV report dragging Diddy's name through court. On the other, leaked tapes and viral audio tying Meek Mill and others into his so-called empire of chaos. And the industry is asking the same thing we are. Was Diddy really set up like he says, or is this just years of buried secrets finally coming to the surface? Now, according to Jaguar Wright, Diddy was diagnosed with HIV, knew about it but never shared that information. Diddy had the opportunity like everybody else. You know what's wild about that though? He faced that head up. He didn't stop. He didn't stop doing what he's been doing. How many dudes are running around undetectable? Wright also claimed that she personally knows at least 20 men who are living with HIV and hinted she may reveal their names in her own upcoming show. She didn't stop there. Wright also challenged the story around Diddy and Jay-Z's relationship. While Jay-Z's team has said that the two weren't close outside of business, Wright said that wasn't true. In her words, their friendship went beyond work. I minded my business. Did you ever see Diddy around Jay-Z? I mean, of course, at parties, at events. Everyone knows this. This isn't anything new. Everyone knows this. The simple fact that guy went and did exactly everything I said he was going to do. I sat on Piers Morgan. I've been making that prediction ever since, but nobody wants to give me credit for that. All of these people he's been stealing from all of these years. And I know I'm responsible for him losing at least $125 million in the past 2 months. I say that with pride. Yeah, so, nobody wants to give me credit for what I do. Jaguar was right. Yeah, They might say, "You're bringing down our black billionaires." Jaguar, "You're bringing our black billionaires down." How can I do that? I'm a liar, right? How could I do that? I'm crazy, right? How could I do that if I'm not right? Come on. See, I don't need to be right. I just need to admit that y'all were wrong. If I could get $1 for every person that's called me a liar in the past 5 years, I wouldn't be financing satellite next week. You do seem like a keeper of information. Nobody's thinking about the fact that a compromised national network like the National Broadcasting Company allowed a bullying job to happen to a 37-year-old traumatized autistic woman with no comfort there, with no one there to shield her, to give her peace. Anyone who knows autistic people, they break down in social settings and they'll do anything and say anything just to get you to stop pressuring them. NBC should be punished for that, right? And they should pay her. Yeah, what do you think of NBC putting her out there? Like, just even interviewing her behind. I think they're just as greedy for what they did to R. Kelly and then give Jay-Z a softball interview. Where is Gail? Where's Gail? Why doesn't Gail have an interview for this situation? They're such good friends. Hey, where's Gail? What? She's trying to keep the money away from Oprah before she passed out on the drugs again. I don't know. Where is she? The singer went further, calling out Diddy's overall impact on the music industry. She labeled him a harmful influence for 30 years and argued that people like Clive Davis and Lucian Graham helped protect him, which allowed his power to grow. This oppressive system has harmed our culture and society for far too long. It's time to stop enabling people like Diddy, Wright said, urging the industry to change. Jaguar Wright told us that Diddy learned everything from Clive Davis. Jaguar Wright has explained how much of a monster Clive Davis is, and she constantly says that Diddy learned everything from him. Jaguar Wright claimed that Clive Davis had something to do with Whitney Houston's death because she was getting ready to leave Clive Davis's record label because she realized she was missing a whole bunch of money, and a lot of people thought it was terrible when Clive Davis continued to party even though Whitney Houston had just died in the same hotel. And then to add even more mystery, it was super weird when Whitney Houston gave this note to Brandy the night before she passed away. And honestly, I want to know what that note says more than anything honestly in the world. And then after Whitney Houston passed away, Bobby Brown's sister started saying that Whitney's death was no accident and saying that Bobby Christina was not safe. Whitney Houston's body told anybody upon looking at it that it was foul play. Okay, don't get it twisted. No, Whitney Houston. I counted 10, at least 10 cuts in her chest alone. She had marks up and down her legs. Her fingernails were chipped. Her face was beaten up. It was blown up. Yes, as if somebody was punching her in the face. Whitney Houston fought for her life. Jaguar Wright claimed that this happened to Whitney Houston because she was trying to leave Clive Davis. And then she said the same thing happened to Bobby Christina because Bobby Christina inherited Whitney Houston's estate. And Jaguar Wright claimed that Bobby Christina's boyfriend had a meeting with Clive Davis. And this is how Clive Davis basically set it up to make the same thing happen to Bobby Christina. In addition to this, it is also claimed that Diddy was also heavily impacted by his own parents, one of whom was seemingly a federal informant. Did y'all see when they interviewed Dapper Dan about Diddy? I haven't seen that one, please. They ran into Dapper Dan in Harlem and they asked him what he thought about what was going on with Diddy and if he knew. Diddy and I love Dapper Dan for this. He said I grew up with his parents, he said, and what's going on with him has been going on long before him. Now, his father was a government snitch and a bad actor in the criminal world altogether. But there's whispers in the streets of Harlem that Diddy's mother isn't alive. Not his biological mother, but that woman is his aunt. Whoa, there are whispers. Wait a minute, there are whispers. Back in February, Diddy raised eyebrows after a late-night trip to the hospital sparked rumors that it could be linked to HIV. Sources claimed he was moved from federal prison to receive medical attention for what was described as an ongoing issue. Reports said the 55-year-old was rushed from the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York to a Brooklyn hospital away from the spotlight to quietly address the problem. Officially, the issue was tied to his knee, an injury that goes back to his 2003 New York City Marathon run. According to the New York Post, Diddy received non-invasive testing and an MRI. The Bureau of Prisons declined to give details, releasing only a statement for privacy, safety, and security reasons. We do not comment on the conditions of confinement for anyone in our custody to include medical status or medical trips. Insiders suggested the nighttime hospital visit was meant to minimize media attention and keep other inmates from finding out. But despite those efforts, word got out. Diddy was in pain and undergoing treatment. But was that really the truth? People think it was just a move to gain sympathy, much like how he was acting all soft and vulnerable in the courtroom. How do you feel about Diddy's appearance in court? They're saying that he got all gray hair. His facial hair, his hair is all gray. He got a gray sweater on. Like, how do you feel about his appearance? Well, first of all, he can't use that stuff in court. He can't get that behind bars. So, his appearance, you think? Did he want somebody to see him looking like an old man? He can't do nothing about that because they're not going to let him dye his hair in jail. So, he's going out as natural. He could cut his hair low, you understand what I'm saying, but he can't use any dye. They're not going to give him any dye to dye his hair. That's not a choice. That's something that he has to do. And him throwing signs of the heart and everything like that back to his family and stuff. Yo, I don't believe the jury members, like that, or even care about that. Yeah, they're reporting that he got a Bible like he's reading a Bible during trial. All that is fake. Bro, what happens is, the defense is trying to have him distract himself, so they know it's a possibility that he might break down on somebody, break down or do something. So what they're trying to do, well, read over this, look over this, you understand, so you don't. They don't show the real you. Meanwhile, reports have surfaced that Diddy is supposedly planning a comeback in music, but not everyone believes it's possible. He was found guilty on 2 out of 5 charges brought against him, remains behind bars without bail, and could face 3 to 4 years in prison. Despite that, his lawyers have said more than once that Diddy wants to return to music. According to Radar Online, one source was blunt. Diddy is totally deluded if he thinks that's going to happen. The insider said he genuinely thinks he's coming back stronger, but no one with a decent reputation wants anything to do with him now. He is totally deluded if he thinks he's going to walk out of jail and back into the recording studios and boardrooms he once controlled. Not one big-name producer in the industry will want to work with him, and no entrepreneur will want to get tied up with him. Another executive echoed the same sentiment, claiming his supposed plan for a future in music is delusional. They told Radar Online he keeps talking about launching a comeback, but there's no comeback to make. Still, Diddy's legal team insists he's not giving up. In an interview with CBS News, his attorney, Mark Agnafilo, revealed that the music mogul is determined to do something exceptional when he gets out. Jaguar Wright thinks all of this is part of a wider strategy of damage control by Diddy. By controlling what the public thinks about him, he can control how much damage he's going to have to take. Diddy does have a plan to try to mess up the information, mess up the chain of evidence, mess up history as it actually happened. And he is the kind of guy that has no problem with re-victimizing people all over again. Let's just keep it real. These girls showed up at a very convenient time, did they not? Adria and Lamisha Fuller, very convenient time. I do Piers Morgan. The elites go insane. Ariel Mitchell drops Adria English as a client after she got drunk and talked with Tasha K, which was crazy in itself if you ask me. I go on Piers Morgan and say I have 3 witnesses that are ready to come forward against the Carters. I didn't say against Diddy, I said against the Carters. And then there was the fake cease and desist, which was nothing more than a phone call from the lawyer, Alex Spiro, who ruined the ROC Nation deal so Dame Dash couldn't make any real money off of it. They were all afraid. When I look at Khadisha's content and I see her go and pull everything, when I see you go and pull all of those things that I leave on the breadcrumb trail, I need people to understand how valuable that is. Because see, I'm used to people just calling me a liar straight out the gate, but I always leave enough of the real information there for people to be able to go and seek it out for themselves. Because see, if you can go find it, then it's not about me. The truth is, a lot of you content creators are my receipt partners. In addition to this, she also claims that Diddy tried to get rid of evidence that would have gotten him in trouble. The day that Diddy's house was raided, pay attention to the 24 hours that happened before it hit the news. Kim Kardashian unfollowed him, which we now know she was very involved in the Diddy lifestyle. Diddy was supposed to be going on vacation with his daughters, but he didn't do that. He was supposed to be in Los Angeles. But when they found him, he was wandering around at a private airport in Florida, not on Star Island where that house was being raided. Yet they thought he was on a plane that left Los Angeles and ended up around Antigua over there by the Bermuda Triangle where there's unprotected waters and things were dumped out of that plane, supposedly. We need to look at that. Yeah, and the reason why I say that is because 1,000 bottles of baby oil, which we now know was only a carrier vehicle for the drugs inside. Every kind of illegal drug, from VHS all the way up to terabytes of streams of all of this stuff. This was all left behind for the authorities to be able to find. So what went out on the plane? What went out on the plane? You know, if someone's going to go through the trouble of loading up a plane, not with a person, but with God knows what, and sending the government on a wild goose chase to where things were supposedly dumped in unprotected waters where they can't be recovered or investigated. Don't forget, you're getting this out of there before the authorities show up. So, you got to remember this is all in a rush. Kim Kardashian unfollows him. Diddy is supposed to be in LA, but he's actually already in Florida. But his plane leaves from LA and goes past Florida out to unprotected waters where things were supposedly dumped. And that went out first, and you left all of this stuff behind. Well, there had to be terrible things. Maybe it was the kind of things that would guarantee life without parole immediately. It had to be worse than what they found. And now, Diddy's, making crazy collect calls. Get rid of all the pizza boxers and recycle all the plastic. So now the question remains, with a damaged reputation, legal battles still looming, and only a handful of allies left. Does Diddy really have a shot at making a comeback? Let us know in the comments.